right, here we go.
I look messy.
We both do. I look
It's
like
raining outside.
it is, and
Ooh.
I've got crazy humidity hair too. So,
Okay. Yeah. Oh my God.
all right, hold on. I'm just trying to get everything shared here, get it out on the blockchain, which takes a couple seconds to register. Hi, Matt. This is Jocelyn. This is Ungovernable. You are yawning. It's late.
Story
It
day.
is bedtime. So we've been a little bit of a hot mess for the last week and a half. So we've been off last week, and we still owe everyone a part 2 of the Alex Jones interview reaction.
Yeah.
So we will be doing that. Again, we have to do that solely on the blockchain. So we do that on Odyssey and on vim.tv that we're on right now streaming. But right now we're also on, you're probably watching YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the big ones. And what you can do is help us out with a like, thumbs up, a share. If you're not subscribed, definitely sub, help us out with the algorithm, and help us get this information out there. We're not really monetized anywhere except for on the blockchain, nor do we really want to be, because that puts you in a whole different realm with, getting censored. So we're not really looking for all kinds of, money from big tech. My mother chiming in. Look at that. She's here for bedtime. That's good. Yeah.
Did you didn't have Sweet Pickles books? It's only my family that had them.
Right? I don't think I had these when I was younger. I might have.
They were like the early subscription.
I might be like misremembering or something. I don't think I had these types of books. I had other types of books, but I don't remember this specific brand, so to speak. But so anyway, before we get rolling with our bedtime story,
bedtime and wine, they go well together.
Yeah. Sometimes if you've had a bunch, not so much, but we were in the Finger Lakes. The Finger Lakes. We were in the
Finger Lakes.
Yes.
This is the like the Sonoma area of the East Coast. And I had no clue. Like, that's what I'm naming it, because you go to these wineries and it is so beautiful. And they all sit outside over the lake. And it's like, and they're rows on either side of the lake. It's just like going to like wine country.
Yes.
I mean, it's not, California wines, but they were really good.
Oh yeah. We were at Seneca Lake. And we stayed in like an Airbnb kind of situation. The view from the Airbnb, there was like a big grass field out in front, and it looked right out over the lake. It was like a little higher up the hill.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. So yeah, we had a good time there. We actually brought back some wine.
Yeah.
This is, if I can get it in there.
It's backwards.
Yeah, it's because I flipped the camera. It is Lakewood Winery.
What a beautiful
or Lakewood
winery.
Vineyards. And this is Cab Franc. So Jesus, my lighting is awful this evening.
It has a rose.
It is Cab Franc from Lakewood Vineyards. We tasted like a bunch of different wines that were there, and I gotta say, like, all of them were absolutely fabulous.
They had sweet ones that they called Fruity Pebbles or something.
Yeah, one tastes
I
exactly
couldn't drink
like Fruity
sweet
Pebbles.
wine
Yeah,
like that. And that was
if you want to, basically give yourself diabetes while drinking wine.
But it was good. I could see tasting. I could see drinking it as a dessert. If you didn't want to have a dessert, you just wanted a little sip of something. I could see that.
Yeah, it was.
The one tasted like grape juice.
Well, no,
it was a white wine.
Yeah, they actually give the grapes to Welch's.
Yeah, that's apparently a co-op, which I had no clue about.
I was also unaware. So apparently Welch's as a company, all of the growers of the grapes own, I think, most of the company.
Yeah.
And so they all provide grapes to Welch's to make the grape juice. So, wow, I'm doing this the most inefficient way possible. And I got stuck into
twisting it off
in
a tiny little strip.
I got stuck into this loop of pulling it off, and then
because it's plastic, you were thinking it was foil.
Well, and my OCD didn't allow me to stop and pivot and do something else, so I had to do it the whole way. So it just is what it is. All right. Oh shoot. Oh, here it is. I almost forgot the most important tool. All right. So you want to do that?
You want me to open it?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to introduce anything else that we forgot to talk about, like last week, or what's coming up, or I think we hit everything, right?
We are going to do the human design once you get your chart read.
Yes, but she is so popular that like I don't think I'm going to be able to see her until November.
Well, we
So
have to get her in, and I was thinking we should get her with somebody else. Don't you remember that? I say these random things.
to like, you know,
we
get
were
some
thinking we
conversation
should get
going.
him with some
With Shane?
with Shane Hazel, because I
know,
think
we'll
that
see.
they would agree on something.
Shane might be interested. We might get someone else to pop into a new face or something like that. But all right. So hopefully this is a little backwards as well.
Again.
So you're not going to be able to read it, but I will read some of the parts to you.
Yay!
This is a book.
Okay, but first of all, this is Sweet Pickles.
Yeah. So
like they're weekly reader books. So when I was a kid, they used to come in literally a school bus box, and you would get one a week or one a month.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but there's like 20 or 30 of them.
Mhm.
And I had saved a bunch of them. Is this one of my originals? I don't know.
It says Jamie on the front.
Yeah, so this one is not one of my originals. I got rid of a lot of them, and then I started reading what we had to the kids, well, to Veronica at the time. And then I was like, I have to get the rest. So I got the rest on Abe's book, Abe Books, which is, by the way, a great place to get.
You can find them on Abe Books. You can find them on
Mm-hmm.
eBay sometimes. Definitely, if you're like a garage sale person, definitely check out like garage sales where there's like kids' toys and stuff like that.
They were like from the 70s, the late 70s to the 80s.
The copyright on this one is 1977, so I'm hoping we're not going to get a copyright strike on this one.
This is like, so every book there's like a different animal, right? Like there's a alligator, accusing alligator, bashful bear, clever camel, doubtful dog. There's the whole thing, right? Of the alphabet has an animal, and then they kind of focus whatever their thing is. Like if they're bashful, their story has to do with bashful, and then they kind of have that. They have that kind of feeling throughout all the books. Yeah. Sometimes they learn, sometimes they don't learn.
A lot of times they don't.
My favorite is my favorite is Zany Zebra.
Zany Zebra is most definitely the best. Zany Zebra is the.
But if you want to see Zany Zebra, there he is.
He's the
Zany Zebra. Look at the illustration.
Zany Zebra is the left-wing anarchist of Sweet Pickles. And the town they live in is called Sweet Pickles, which is why it's called Sweet Pickles. All right, so I'm not going to read the whole thing.
What part are you going to read?
The end is the best part. But
don't you have to set it up?
Yeah, I do have to set it up. So each one of the books has like a something for the kids to learn, right? Like a moral or like a funny tale about one of the characteristics of the animal characters,
whether they learn it or not.
Yes, yeah, and I think most of the characters, if not all of them, have a book that highlights them as the primary character, right?
They all do.
So this one is about Xerus.
What is Xerus?
So Xerus looks like to me.
Does it say X rating Xerus?
No. It does. It says X rating Xerus. Okay, it's Xerus. All right. Xerus to me looks like a gopher or a beaver or something like that.
They're actually a ground squirrel from Africa.
It's the most random thing. It's an African ground squirrel.
They have everything they needed an X.
She has big old
with a big X on her
teeth and stuff like that, and like so I think she's like a beaver or something like that.
She's obviously a Xerus.
She is a Xerus. So Xerus is really good, right? Dry Cab Franc, nice. So good. Xerus is like the character that likes to tell everyone that they can't do something. Mostly what they can't do.
He likes rules. He likes rules. She likes rules.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. Don't misgender the characters.
I'm sorry. You would never have this
back in 1977. You wouldn't have to worry about that. But yeah. So she is very adamant about telling people what they can't do specifically. Okay. So this is my favorite bedtime book. I don't know if it's necessarily
I like
your
anything with Zany
Zebra.
One. He's my favorite.
Okay. So Xerus is the main character, okay? And like the first scene is basically they're out in front of the bank and the yak who talks a lot, who drives a taxi, is parked out in front of the bank. And so he's causing traffic because he's not supposed to be parked in front of the bank. He wants to do a deposit, but he's just sitting there and talking. Right.
And Rabbit, responsible Rabbit,
yeah,
is the one who owns the bank.
He's the banker.
It's so funny because I don't consider banks responsible, but maybe in the 70s.
In the 70s, before it was all. Now I'm thinking back to The Big Short and the intro and the Big Short, and he was talking about how banking used to be a big snooze, And then he was like, the bond department at the bank was straight up comatose. Like, that's what I think about when I see Responsible Rabbit. Yeah. So Responsible Rabbit's like, please move. You can't park here. Everyone's backed up on the street. And Xeris comes along and she's like, oh, I can fix this. So what she does is she goes home and she paints a sign that says, no parking in front of the bank, no stopping, no standing, no talking.
No.
So Xeris, basically by executive order, with no authority,
no authority in the bank,
paints a sign, right? And tells Yak that he can't park in front of the bank. And so then Yak goes, oh, well, I always follow the law. So why didn't you just tell me, right? And so then he drives along.
Because I always obey the law. Ask anyone if I don't. Why? Just yesterday I was saying to, and then while he's talking, he leaves. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Because he's a talker.
So,
but Responsible Rabbit's very happy that he put the sign out because now there's no traffic in the street.
Yeah, Responsible Rabbit's like, oh, thank goodness.
We need more of that.
Responsible Rabbit plants the seed in Xeris's mind that we need more, people telling other people what they can't do. He
says,
right?
Thank you, Xeris, says Rabbit. That sign is just what we need around here.
Yeah, right. So Xeris.
Well, look what Xeris says then.
Oh, well, yeah. Xeris goes, the real trouble around here, she said, is that there aren't enough signs and no one knows what is not allowed. All right.
That's an important line.
Okay. So the second scene is they're at the park. Xeris walks into the park. And there's like a bunch of people doing stuff. There's some people that are eating lunch. There are some people that are Goof Off Goose is my second favorite character. She's taking a nap, and actually she's like right down here in the corner.
Getting hit with the ball.
And then there's people playing ball in the park, right? So what happens is one of the characters throws the ball to another character. They overshoot, and then it starts hitting other characters. And
it's important to note that all the characters are like caricatures of their thing, right? So like accusing alligator accuses right away, and eating elephants, like, well, just eat
enormous elephant.
Oh, enormous elephant. Yes. Oh, see, there you go. Couldn't have said that.
That's fat shaming. That's not allowed nowadays.
But yeah, so the enormous elephant's like, oh, just have something to eat,
But yeah, so
and then there's jealous jackal and
nuts to you nightingale.
Yeah, she's mean.
So one of the characters throws the ball. It ends up hitting a bunch of the characters. They get all ornery, and so they start fighting, right? And then after they're done, they don't stop fighting, and then they start chasing each other around the tree, okay? And Xeris is observing all of this that's happening, and she basically says, I can stop this, and she went home to paint another sign. It worked the first time. It should work this time, right? I'll tell them what they can't do, and it'll fix the problem.
Can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Can we like set up on my computer, like we'll do like a bedtime reading story of this that you can then show the pictures with the words.
You want to do like a voiceover kind of situation?
That goes.
I gotta see. Like if we're not making money, I think it's okay. I think we can do like a voice
for the time. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. So we could definitely do that. So she comes back with another sign. All right.
No.
Look at all the no's, right?
And they're big too.
Yeah. Xeris comes back and she says, she puts a sign down that says, no ball playing in the picnic area, no eating on the ball field, no sleeping, no yelling. And everyone just kind of like throws their hands up, right? And they're like, all right, well, I guess if it's a law or it's a rule, like we can't do anything. So they all basically
but look at Xeris. Show them a picture of Xeris. So proud of herself.
Super proud of herself. Okay. So what's great is Goose, my second favorite character. And she goes, Goose went home. I need to rest, she yawned. Whoever heard of a park that you can't sleep in?
That's a good one.
Right? Like, I mean, yeah, like you can go take a nap in the park.
But she left.
She did.
So there you go.
All right. Third scene. We have two characters, Vulture and Moose, that are one's coming out of the candy store and one's trying to go in. And they both have a standoff because
they don't know who goes where.
Well,
who goes first?
Neither one of them wants to give ground, right? So, like, one of them thinks that Vulture thinks they're more important because they're going in, right? And Moose thinks they're more important because they're coming out. Okay.
Yeah.
So they basically are at a stalemate. They're yelling at each other, right? So Xeris has the solution. We're gonna do it again, right? So Xeris puts up another sign, right? And what does the sign say? The sign says, absolutely no going in the out. Positively no going out the in, no in or out allowed. So both of them.
But Worried Walrus was in the candy
Wait, hold
store.
on. You're I got a point to make before that. Moose and Vulture both end up leaving. Okay. So Xerus effectively solved the problem, but now Vulture didn't go into the candy store and buy anything.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So
he had to leave. He had to leave.
So regulations steal revenue from business owners. Who would have known that? All right. Then we also have another issue. Walrus
is stuck inside.
Is stuck in the damn store and
he
can't
stays there
leave.
overnight.
All right.
He doesn't leave. He just stays there.
So Walrus is in a pickle. Okay.
A pickle.
He's in He's in a pickle in Sweet Pickles. Okay. And Xerus is like, I solved another problem. All right. Now what she's going to do is she's going to put this plan on steroids. So Xerus goes home and makes lots of signs. We're going to fix all the problems, right? Xerus stayed up all night painting signs. Rules and regulations are what this town needs, she screeched.
Oh, yeah, screeching.
Law and order. That's what we need.
More rules.
There's no cop character in Sweet Pickles,
no,
by the way.
There's no law.
Well,
there's Stork.
Stork is like
the judge.
Yeah, Stork
as well as
the judge.
Mailman.
Yeah, but to my knowledge, there's no police department in Sweet Pickles, and they seem to get along pretty well. All right,
except
so oh no, the market finds a way. Don't worry. All right. So now the next morning, Xerus puts out all of these signs around town. And so they basically say that in the morning, Xerus rushed out and put her signs up all over town. Elephant couldn't find any place to eat.
She's an elephant. Yak
couldn't park his taxi, and he couldn't talk to anyone about it. Quail couldn't stay on the grass. Quail also couldn't get off of the grass. All of Sweet Pickles, everything ground to a halt. Nothing's happening. No one can do anything. We don't know what's allowed anymore.
Help! Cried Walrus from the candy store.
Yeah. And then Elephant's like, help, I'm hungry, right? They're all...
The yak has to whisper, help, help, help.
Yeah.
Because he can't talk.
Yeah. So this is why Zany Zebra is the best freaking character.
The best.
So here comes Zebra to the rescue, and he's got a little like radio flyer wagon type thing full of signs. And he goes, did I hear a call for help? As he zipped by pulling his wagon. I could use some help myself. I've spent the whole morning taking down these silly signs.
Yeah.
Something in my head wants to read that. I could use some help myself. I've spent the whole damn morning taking down these silly signs. And then everyone, right? Zebra's the one defiant one. Everyone goes, silly signs. Of course, exclaims Elephant. She pulled up a no eating sign and took out a sandwich. Everybody pitched in and they all took down all the signs. Then Walrus goes, whew, as he came out of the candy store. That was getting to be a problem. So now you figure, oh, okay, well, we fixed the problem. Well, Zebra's still thinking. It's not over yet, laughed Zebra. There's one more sign to take care of. Come on. And everybody followed Zebra. So now they all go over as a town and they go to Xerus's house. Oops. They go to Xerus's house and put a sign out in front of Xerus's house. And it says,
sign painting absolutely not allowed.
Not allowed. So Xerus goes, man, oh, hold on. Xerus goes, well, rules are rules. So she puts down the paintbrush and stops painting signs. Then what does she say? I'm glad there's no rule about stickers. Xerus got out a crayon and lots of little stickers, and she started writing. No parking in front of the bank. No ball playing in the park. No sleeping. No standing. No walking. No running. No jumping. Do not litter. No loitering. Xerus is a fucking politician.
I thought Xerus worked at the candy store.
Xerus doesn't work. I don't
know what Xerus
Apparently,
does.
she makes everyone's
She's a
life
lobbyist.
a living hell.
Is she a lobbyist?
Ooh, that's entirely possible.
That sounds like she might be a lobbyist.
The only problem is that lobbyists try and get things allowed for the companies and the groups that they're lobbying for.
Well, there's some lobbies that they want to go against things, right? I feel like there has to be.
So, this is by far my favorite kids book that we read to our children.
The year I was born.
Like just hands down. It is the ultimate like anti-government regulation.
You won't find a book like that really.
No.
I mean, maybe there are books now still.
No. I would have to say the vast majority of children's books that we have that are like newer. Yeah, it's very much about becoming rule followers and find your place. But then it's like
don't go against.
It's not like finding your place in terms of like freedom. It's finding your place in terms of like, okay, that's your lane. Now stay in it.
I
Like
feel
that
like
kind of
though we haven't been in the hunt for a children's book. I don't know what children's books are like now. I have heard some things, but I have not bought books since, because we just kind of recycle books from the first two kids.
Yeah.
So we haven't really bought books or looked at children's books. I don't even know what's out there.
What,
anymore.
10 years maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
8 years?
Yeah, like 8 years.
Yeah. I mean, they've really started to kind of ramp up some of the I mean, there's always indoctrination in everything, right? Like even in the series, like you're never going to get a purely written series that doesn't have some level of programming or propaganda or agenda or something.
Sweet. I love this series.
It's fantastic.
I actually went out and bought all of them on Abe Books. I mean, you can get Abe Books, you can get them for like $3.75 with shipping and everything included.
Yeah.
And they're really good.
We're not sponsored by Abe Books, by the way. So
no,
but if they do want to,
all of mine.
if they do want to sponsor us, we read lots of books. Yeah. So
can I just,
go ahead.
This is totally off topic, but
I'm going to drink while you talk.
No, that's fine. I just read an article about a book. So everyone knows Weiss Brown, Margaret Weiss Brown, who wrote Goodnight Moon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So she lost her beloved, right? She had written Goodnight Moon. She was already like a well-known author. And then so she lost her beloved and she wrote a book, a children's book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this children's book was about death. It was this, death, I guess, was very taboo. And it still is. But she wrote this book about death. And it was called The Dark Wood of the Golden Birds. Okay. And it was beautiful. You can go online, like if you go to the Marginalarian, and you can see the actual, you can read the entire book pretty much and see all the beautiful illustrations. It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's so it's beautiful sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Wood of the Golden Birds is like where the people pass to, but they don't ever actually say death, right? This book was banned, taken out of print and banned.
Why?
Because it was a children's book about death. And he never actually says death.
Yeah.
It's like this beautiful thing where this boy walks this, older man across. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
I looked on Abe, this is what brought it up, Abe Books. I looked on Abe Books, Amazon. I was looking for a copy of this because I really wanted it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, the illustrations are beautiful and the words are like absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
The book was put out. And then parents were so pissed off that she would write a darker children's book, but it was like, so when the thing I had written was, it was a love letter to her beloved, this children's book. And it's so sad that we're at a state, and I don't know what year this was, but like, it was so sad that we're at a state where like actually like thinking about and feeling about things that every kid is going to eventually lose their grandparents or great, like that happens, and they just banned it. They banned it, like 1984 banned it. Like not like
you don't have to worry
they
about
took
it
out
anymore.
of print.
You don't have to worry about losing people anymore. You just take Klonopin. It's okay.
But why would they do that too? I mean, this was it, and the illustrations are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it wasn't like a kid's book, like a board book. Like, like Goodnight Moon was a board book. This was like for like this kind of book.
Yeah.
Like one of these Sweet Pickle books. So just thinking about Abe Books. I only bring that up because of the Abe Books. But like, yeah.
This is something that
how do they ban that?
Is I mean, part of the reason why we stream on Web 3.0, like on Vim TV and on Odyssey, is because I mean, I think you would easily say that like we're both pretty much free speech absolutists. Like you should be able to say whatever you want. Yeah, and you should have to catch repercussions if you say something that, is whatever, unpopular or like, I'm a big fan of cultural or societal pressure, like cultural pressure being put on people, right? And if they want to stand their ground, fantastic. If they don't, then they change their ways, right?
Well, I suppose in a way it could have been that. I mean, it was banned, but it could have been that like the company that published it maybe got backlash, so they took it off. But it was banned.
No, that's fine. But the thing is that when it comes to free speech, I don't think like the nature of free speech, like people get this like really fundamentally wrong all the time when it comes to all these different issues, whether it's free speech or if it's self-defense or if it's the right to privacy and things like that. There's a big difference between cultural pressure telling someone that you feel like they're wrong or literally making a structured, argument against the person and being like, you shouldn't have done this or whatever, or you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
There's a whole other insidious aspect of it that is not necessarily like this idea of cancel culture, right? Is insidious, and it is not germane to just people on the far left. Remember that there's been cancel culture throughout all of time, even in the 70s, back when Democrats were actually pro free speech. There was cancel culture, right? Because the right was doing it all the time. It really had to do about war and stuff like that. There was anti-sedition acts and stuff like that that didn't allow you to speak out against war, right? I'm pretty sure they're close to doing something similar with the Ukraine-Russia war right now. But
like a censorship kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, like not allowing you to
against it?
talk out against, backing Ukraine, right? And that shit's dangerous. Like, yeah, if you disagree, the person has the right to say it, and you have the right to disagree with it. To like put societal pressure to like outright ban someone from being able to say it, I think is it's an abuse of power. And it typically requires more than just say like, an outrage. There's typically some involvement from some corporate or government entity, which we basically live in a managerial class of fascism right now. If you're talking about large corporations or the government.
I get stuck with if you're like, so I suppose it's okay to just stop the print of something because it's a business, right? And if they choose they don't want to have your words,
that's
and
fine.
You went with them.
That's fine.
But then I don't know where the banning came from.
Where it would go beyond my point of being comfortable is if that book was then summarily banned for other reasons from all other publishers, or if that author tried to put it out somewhere and kept getting rebuffed because not just because the entity was against it, but because the entity was worried about backlash from a corporation or backlash from a government entity. If it says anything. But I think there's a very it's not definite, but there is a dividing line between someone having to deal with the repercussions of their free speech and the more insidious aspects of, say, trying to completely shut someone down and not allow them to be heard, especially when it involves, I'm not saying this particular case involved it, but especially when it involves like, the government or the judicial system or something like that, because that's an abuse of power, trying to shut someone down just because you disagree with what they're saying, right? I just want to, I love coming back to this book because there's so many things in here that you can point to that are like, they're not specifically pointed out, but they are inherent in here, right? Like the idea that, an individual who is backing up traffic needed a law to stop them, as opposed to like, say, people coming up and like, I'm like, at no point in time, like people are honking their horns, right? All passive.
That's sweet pickles for you.
Well, no, yeah, but it's all passive aggressive shit,
in
right?
Like own one thing.
And now, at no point in time do like 2 or 3 of the people get out of their cars and come up and say, "Yeah, get the hell out of the way! Like we got to go. I got to go to work or something like that." Right?
Yak would talk their ear off.
Well, I understand that, but we're talking here between an interaction between 2 people that is affecting a whole bunch of other people, and those other people are like passive aggressively just sitting in their cars. Like they had enough time for Xeris to run home, paint the sign, come back, put the sign down for the issue to resolve itself. No one comes up and actually tries to like, second what Rabbit is saying and give some support to it. And if 3, 4, 5, 6 people get out of their cars and come up and say, "Hey, you're making me late for work" or whatever, that might have resolved the situation, right? Well, I mean, or offer an alternative, like just pull around the corner, right?
Why couldn't Rabbit just take what he needed from the car?
Well, so in these cases, I think people also jump to kind of this, orderly society conclusion where if you positively incentivize the behavior, it will happen over and over and over again. I got to be honest, if Rabbit were a good business person and Yak is like, "I'm a good customer, like I want to keep doing business with your bank," which, by the way, there's de facto monopolies all over Sweet Pickles because there's only one grocery store and one bank and one, right?
There's no choices.
But Rabbit as a good business owner should just be like, "Look, I'll take the deposit right now. Okay. Come back sometime. I'll give you your receipt." Right. And then the next time you want to do it, just call me. I'll run out to the thing, grab you thing.
That would
right?
be
Like
the business
that would be a
owner
business
way of doing
owner's
it.
idea, like a free trade way of doing it. And all of these things are circumvented by,
if this didn't
Xeris
happen, we
deciding they
wouldn't
have to
have
go
the
off.
lesson of Xeris.
Well,
So,
also true, but how to learn from. I mean, like that's why I call Zany Zebra a left anarchist, right? Because
so good.
because Zany Zebra
he eats his lunch under the table.
Yeah.
And he uses the window instead of the door.
And he ties a tie around his tail. Yeah,
and
he's fantastic.
He's super cool. Rides backwards on his skateboard.
This is why Zany Zebra fills such a great role within this kind of like universe. He's not like running around fixing everyone's problems. Like what he's doing is he's running around and all of these things that get constructed that are like anti-productive or they're like bugging people or all this other stuff. He's like, yeah, I'm just not going to do that.
Well, that's like the nuts to you one. Like in one of them, they don't like how Nightingale treats everyone. So they all go, let's make a law that you can't be mean.
Yeah. And Zany Zebra is like let's just jump a bunch of nuts.
Yeah, because he always says
in his apartment.
That just sounds so bad. But no, his
bags of nuts.
Yeah.
Walnuts.
No, he's the nut. He always says nuts to you.
Yeah.
So instead of like, since they can't make a law because Stork says you can't make a law to make someone be nice, it's just not what you do. And if you did, it would take forever. So Zany Zebra comes in with this big thing of the nuts and sacks and sacks.
And just dumps it like in front of his door and on the balcony and stuff like that.
Nuts to you, Nightingale.
Yeah, Zany Zebra is fantastic. Here's another aspect of this. When the signs go up and the regulations are put in place, right? The regulation always goes way further than the actual nature of the problem, which is also a perfect example
of government.
Yes, yeah. We just made Dan's night. We're talking about nuts and sacks. Yeah.
But wasn't the original?
He loves that you're laughing about children's books. It's a good thing we didn't have any herbal refreshment before this, by the way. But so yeah, the regulation always goes way further than the actual issue. This is symbolic or a perfect example of the culture that we live in today, right?
Yeah. It's like no in the door, no out the door.
Well, the issue is the dude sitting backing up traffic, right? So the top of the thing says no parking in front of the bank. Okay, well if Rabbit's on board with that, or if it's town property and they're on board with that, all right, fine. But then he goes forward and he then says like no stopping, no standing, no talking. This is exactly what freaking government does. They take a problem and then what they do is they use that to then further change behavior. That's what they'll say is related to the original issue. But it goes way further. And then what happens is in this particular instance, maybe those restrictions apply. But what happens in the instance of someone just walking down the fucking sidewalk and it just says no talking, right?
Or no standing, or no stopping.
What are you supposed to do? Like sit down on your ass and scoot down the road? Like that is the nature of government right now. They take one problem and then they add all of these other things onto it that may or may not be germane to the one issue that they're faced with. And then it has all of these knock-on effects with other people that are in completely unique situations, and it causes all kinds of problems. It's like the aspect in the park. What did you take from the aspect in the park? Like when this stuff happens, right?
He tried at first to say no eating in the ballpark, no, but parks are, that's what our daughter, who's 5, she says, but parks are for everyone to hang out and play.
Exactly.
And like, so right? She, like it says not to do this in this area, not to do that in that area, not to do this in this area. And she goes, but parks are to play. Everyone wants to sleep in a park. So I personally don't want to sleep in a park.
In most of these examples, if you notice, the personal responsibility of the individuals that are involved in the conflict completely gets abdicated by Xeris trying to fix the problem with regulations.
Oh, right? Why don't you just watch, if someone's playing ball by you?
Yeah, like
you just keep it.
Can't you just be considerate and like, right? Or, if someone hits you with their ball or something like that.
People make mistakes.
If they injure you, then I'm like,
I don't think there's a lawyer.
You've been damaged, right? Like, I don't know. There's only one judge and it's Stork, and it worries me because I don't know if there's any lawyers, which means that we might have like a Have you ever seen the movie Nothing But Trouble?
No.
You don't like Chevy Chase though, right?
No.
Chevy Chase, Demi Moore, John Candy, Dan Aykroyd. It's like there's this like one small little village called Vulcanvania, and Chevy Chase is a banker, and they go on like a weekend holiday, and he's driving his BMW and Mercedes, and he invites Demi Moore along and like these Brazilian clients he has, and they end up like driving too fast down the road in Vulcanvania. So they end up getting pulled over by the one cop that works there, who's the son of the judge who owns like all of the land in Vulcanvania.
Everything happens.
And so he hates bankers, so he's going to execute him. At which point I'm like, yeah, I don't really love Chevy Chase or bankers, so maybe it's okay if he gets executed. But so anyway, yeah, I'm worried Stork, could
but
potentially
Stork is
be like
also
that.
the mailman.
Yeah, but actually, someone raised this point today, and I thought it was extremely poignant. The system that you have, whether you look at government or governance of your company or something like that, if it relies on forthright people and it completely breaks down if a psychopath gets into power, it's a bad system, right?
I heard
it's
something
inherently flawed.
Similar like that as well, but it was put in a different light.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, but I can't get over the fact that, this kind of like regulatory thinking completely short circuits the human and personal accountability that exists between people.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you don't have to. Well, if no one can go in or go out, then you're not worried about. Then you won't have those fights, right? That's how Xeris thinks, and you won't fight about who.
Yeah, no one fight, right? Like, but
right.
but fighting can be. I'm like conflict can be productive. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about fist fights. But like maybe
I don't think there's any other books that Xeris is really highlighted in. Is there? I don't think there is.
I have to go back. I mean, Xeris is not a key player in a lot of the other ones, which also makes me think that like I kind of want to look up the background of the author.
We should see if they're still around. Richard
like,
Hefter.
Yeah, written and illustrated. This is also interesting. It's a book that was both written and illustrated by the same person.
Let me see, Richard
Hefter. I mean, we're talking about a book that was published 45 years ago. 45 years ago.
That's how old I am.
So if Richard might be on in years.
An American.
Yes, yeah. Richard is no longer with us, unfortunately.
I'm gonna look. You could be wrong.
But you are continuing to touch our lives, Richard.
He died in 2011.
Okay.
I wonder what else he wrote.
Sense. But yeah, the inherent like lessons in here go so far beyond just the superficial storyline. Yeah.
Whoa, the Sweet Pickles series went on to sell 40 million copies in the 70s.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of them around. I bet if you're a person that likes to go to like garage sales and stuff like that, and they have a lot of like kids books, like older kids books and stuff, I'm pretty sure you can find them somewhere.
It says he described his aim as trying to help children understand things like shyness, laziness, and embarrassment in a humorous way, which I think he did.
Laziness.
That would be Goose.
I kind of like Goose. Goof off Goose. Yeah, this is like I think we just kind of stumbled upon this. This wasn't, or I mean, like we kind of got the books out of nostalgia.
Yeah, we bought them because I read them as a kid.
Your background with them, but like I find myself gravitating towards the books that are, they're entertaining for the kids, but at the same time, they have some of these like kind of like deep-seated positive messages that come from them that I think are extremely like their self-ownership, like their self-sovereignty kind of lessons in many cases.
I mean, a lot of times, even though a character doesn't learn their lesson, it's very apparent to you reading it what the consequences of everything is.
Natural consequences is also something that's in here.
It's very apparent, like everybody in there kind of gets it, and everyone kind of accepts each other in the Sweet Pickles.
Yeah, there's a good dynamic, because also all of the characters are kind of like, I guess, forced to interact almost. There's like one of the books is Zebra throws a party for Moose, right? And the best part about it is he doesn't send out invitations.
Moody Moose.
Yeah, he doesn't send out invitations. Zebra just tells Yak, and then Yak tells everyone to show up to the party.
Yak talks. Yeah.
But so Alligator shows up and then gets irritated that Moose got invited. But then Zebra like makes Moose like the star, like it's Moose's party.
It's Moose's party,
right? And they give Moose like a special gift and stuff, which ends up becoming extremely like emotionally endearing to Moose, and Moose ends up feeling loved as a result of it. Zebra is the most amazing character in the entire series.
There's it's just, you know what? I love these books.
Yeah.
But you know, and I think all of our kids have loved them. Like we have read them over and over and over again to all of our kids.
Yeah.
And it's just so 70s.
Yeah.
Early 80s.
You can see like just culturally it's completely different. Like the granted, we're talking about fictional characters.
And it's not sexualized at all because it's the animals, and like they're just these big clunky animals that just, you know.
Yeah,
I like that about it.
And what's also great is a lot of these kind of like central characteristics that each one of the characters kind of has as a hyper focused portion of their personality is also some of the natural progression of what kids go through as they grow up.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
There's like, you know, greedy characters. There's characters that
clever.
Yeah, are very cynical. There's characters that, you know, throw tantrums.
One that questioning Quail, which is me, when I can't figure out what I want ever.
That's always you.
Right. So questioning Quail doesn't ever know the answer, and she doesn't really ever get the answer, but that's okay. It also shows you it's okay to have that as like, I don't know. I think they're just such a beautiful series.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in this. So like, I don't even know where to go from this because it's like, it is such a perfect standalone story. I just love reading it to the kids. I'm just trying to think of the other books that we read to the kids, and I'm trying to like.
One of my favorites is the Virginia Woolf book. It's an art therapy type book though. It's a picture book.
The visuals in it are fantastic.
What is it? What's wrong with Virginia Woolf? Not Virginia Woolf.
Well, it's like her sister or whatever.
Sister. She gets really angry and she can't get out of it. So the sister says, okay, well, let's paint. And she tries to paint a forest on the wall. Because basically when the sister gets really mad, she turns into a wolf. But it's all, you know, it's really just her talking. The book is absolutely beautiful. And then in order to turn her back into a girl, they start to paint. She tries to say, do you want to paint? Where are you? Let's paint the map of where you are. And then they end up having so much fun, and they wake up the next morning. And you think in the book, it looks absolutely gorgeous. Like an artist did it. Right.
Yeah.
And then in the morning they look up and it like is totally like kid scribble, but they had so much fun doing it that she's not a wolf anymore.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a beautiful, I think sometimes we get angry and we put someone aside,
yeah,
right? And we don't accept them in, or we don't draw them in, you know. And I think art is beautiful. That's one of my favorites. I also like The Cat Who Swallowed Thunder, just because it's so magical and witchy, and because it is October. The Cat Who Swallowed Thunder, the best for October.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a magical book.
Yeah.
I love that one. And
a couple of those, that book's actually fairly recent, isn't it? I think that book's
no clue, but it's a really great book.
That book's fairly recent.
Kind of the story of how a cat's purr came to be.
I'm definitely interested if you're watching this, or if you end up listening to the audio version. Unfortunately, you weren't able to see the visuals that go with it. But I would love to hear feedback on if you guys want us to find more kids' books.
Well, Tuttle Twins are always like, but that's a little older.
Yeah, but Tuttle Twins is also one of those things where it's sold and marketed as, you know, liberty and freedom kind of based learning.
And it's not bedtime.
I would love to hear from people if they were interested in hearing other stories that we tell our kids or that we come across that have some of these things in it, because I would love to be able to turn people on to those, because it's a failing of a lot of people in the liberty movement to think that they have to close off. Right. And so like, if it's like, we only read our kids the Tuttle Twins, or we only read our kids this or that. There are amazing stories throughout, you know, decades that
I will say though that
these great.
I will say though that Piper doesn't allow us to read anything but Sweet Pickles.
Yeah. Now she's on
a Sweet Pickle phase.
Yeah.
We're like, pick some books for tonight. And she's like, Sweet Pickle.
The elephant.
She likes Elephant.
The Elephant and Piggy books are all right, but they're not that deep. I mean, like they're very kind of like surface level. Yeah, it's very kind of surface level type stuff. So if you are interested, we would love to hear feedback. And if
Or
you
if
want
you
us
know
to do
some good
another one,
books that we could check out
yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, throw your favorites in. Especially if they're not
I'm sure
those typical, Tuttle Twins type books. I want to find other books that are not specifically marketed towards that, but have those lessons embedded in them, or those kind of like themes,
I was trying to think if we have any other ones that have like that kind of theme. Really.
Yeah, and now
Do
I'm
we?
interested
Like
in
The
kind of
Girl Who
going
Made
back through
Mistakes,
and
maybe.
the girl who never made mistakes. That's an interesting one. It's
The
still
Girl-
kind of very on the face of it though. Like
Yeah.
it's a very what I love about these books
We'd have
is
to go look through everything.
they're like there's a simple story, but it's deep. Whereas a lot of the books nowadays are
Yeah,
simple
they stay
stories,
on the
and
surface.
the moral or the lesson is also very simple. There's not very much complexity built into it.
Mm.
And so I would actually call that when it comes to current media and stuff, we can actually talk about that either in this episode, or we can do a whole episode dedicated to it. But a lot of the creative stuff, and I'll use air quotes creative, because a lot of the creative stuff that comes out today is super simplistic, but the production value
It's higher.
is what
like
is
the
high,
pictures or the
right? And so
yeah.
it's almost like they've moved away from, and this might just be because everyday humans are more like goldfish, but they've moved away from these very kind of like deep, insightful kind of storylines. I mean, like you even used to get some level of depth in, say, like fantasy films or sci-fi films and stuff like that. Nowadays, the thematic part of it
But
is
yet
so generic.
the animations and stuff are insane.
Oh yeah, no,
And like
well, that's
of
where
like with the movies.
that's where
yeah.
they've dedicated their money, right? Like if you look at the special effects producer gets paid probably 10x what the writers do.
So this is totally off topic, but we were talking in my film class
Mm.
about what we thought film has changed so much, right? You just for the hell of it, go check out the Superman flying with Lois Lane from like Christopher Reeve's time. And then put it literally next to the Doctor Strange, the multiverse where he's falling and flying out of the sky with the girl.
Yeah.
You get a kick out of that. That's so different. It's like you're like watching, all you see are these people. And there's like the back moving.
Yeah. Really, and it's not even green screen. They're projecting the clouds behind them. And there's so a fan blowing on them.
I mean, yeah, and it's really like, and you can tell like they're obviously laying on something because the bodies are awkward in a lot of ways too, right? So like when we were talking about, so if that's happened since the 1980s, right, which is like 30 something years.
Yeah,
I'm dating myself, 40 something years. What do you think in 40 years is going to be the next iteration? And I asked my kids, who are all between 10 and 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every one of them said, I think they're going to get rid of actors. Like we're just going to have, with all the stuff they do.
All like CGI deep fake type stuff.
Yeah. And they were excited about it for a minute. And then I said, well, think about this. What do you think that's going to bring to the movies? Mm-hmm. Or do you think it's not, and they said, I think it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Every one of them said, I think it's going to suck.
No, I can
because like you can't take the person out of it.
I'm like, I can't remember a movie in the last 5 years that I've watched that's been done in the last 5 years where I was just in love with it. Like I can't. This just could be like the old fogey. That's.
Do you like C?
Yeah, but I mean, like that's the TV series. Yeah, I guess. I mean, even that though still has like. Now the good thing with that is it's not overly CGI'd. A lot of it is like very much kind of like human action that's happening.
Oh,
right?
So good, the fight scenes.
And so to that extent, it's almost kind of like a throwback. Right, like there's big production value in terms of the sets and the costumes and all this other stuff,
but there's not CGI.
It doesn't seem like there's a ton of CGI.
They have to have CGI with heads rolling and things going through stuff.
Well, yeah, but it's not full characters that are CGI. It's not full landscapes behind the people that are CGI. A lot of it is like seems like old school, filming production quality.
So.
I really hope that the pendulum swings back the other way, because it definitely seems nowadays that we've sacrificed. It's part of the reason why production companies are going back and remaking all these older films
And it loses like
I mean, like the people on the right, people on the conservative end of the spectrum be like, oh, well, they're just trying to make an old thing woke, right? Which maybe is what they're trying to do. But at the same time, the reason why it flies is because the older version was not high production value. It might have been good as far as like the script or the themes and stuff like that, but the production value wasn't great. So it's almost like we've completely sacrificed or stagnated, maybe even gone backward in the themes and the writing, right? And we've gone full bore into this like computer generated
think of how weird
special
that would
effects
be.
world.
Think of how weird that would be to have
Do Foley artists even exist anymore?
Foley artists are everywhere, yeah.
Like, but is it
Is
all digital?
Like sound artists?
Like, is it all digital, or are they still
they work
like,
in sound studios.
stepping on
That's why it
popcorn and
sounds
stuff
so
like that?
fantastic. They still work in sound.
Yeah, but it's not all digital now.
No,
I would imagine
I
a
don't
large
think
portion
so.
of their job has become
I
digital.
would say no. You can't fake sound.
Well, no, but you can record it, right? And then once you have a library of recordings, you don't need to step on popcorn 5 different times. I mean, you just have a recording.
But
of
yeah,
someone
but you
stepping
need
on
to step
popcorn.
on it the way the character's stepping on it.
Uh,
Probably on animation and stuff, it doesn't matter as much. But when you have a live actor doing it,
I
you
don't
need to
know.
do it at the weight
I
and
mean,
the
you
timing of that
can
actor.
you can change it and kind of like dub it and stuff like that.
I would say Foley studios are in full effect.
Yeah.
Although there's not a lot of Foley artists, so that's a great job to get into. Although the other problem is that if they took away actors, what would that mean? I mean, think if you. All right, here's the question: think about how I know how deeply I connected to actors.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, like to certain movies, to certain like Breakfast Club, like Dirty Dancing. Like I connected to those actors.
Yeah.
If they weren't actually actors, like what would that fucking do to us? I don't know. It's weird because would you connect in the same way?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with all the way that social media and kids and iPads and stuff are going, like if you took that element, maybe that's why, in some level, all of these like gamers and stuff on YouTube are so big because they're just people. I mean, I'm totally just.
Well, you're talking about like streamers and stuff like that. I mean,
because they're just people. I don't know. Maybe there's got to be a reason.
I don't know.
In someone's cards.
I mean, if kids get sold on something when they're young, I mean, like it kind of pre-programs them for the rest of their life. I mean, they can get out of it, but it's still kind of like guides those neural pathways when they're developing, when they're young, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying maybe the push to watch that kind of stuff is that it's just a person.
I don't know about that though, because
or is it the game?
No, because I mean, there's tons that are extremely popular that have never shown their faces and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's I mean, it could be just the two extremes maybe are of interest or whatever, and maybe something in the middle is not that interesting. I don't know, but it definitely. I would say if they got rid of actors in the sense that it wouldn't necessarily be live action recording anymore. I mean, you'd probably just be better off playing a video game or something. I mean, it's essentially all of life would be animated at that point, right?
And I know your history as a younger person, movies.
Which I know.
Movies are really important to you. I can see it because this guy can like name. I don't know how many times you've seen certain movies, but you can like speak with the movie. I maybe felt more connected to music at a time, but there were those iconic movies that we grew up with, and they did affect me. But like music, I think was my big thing. And then here you go with music, auto fucking tune.
Yeah,
like we're not even listening to voices.
Well, yeah.
I mean, what is like this is just the whole AI dropping in your lap, and if you're, well, and then I don't want to be an old fogey and be like,
We were also talking about, say, like The Greatest Showman, right?
I love that movie.
And so now culturally, it received a lot of backlash because of it focusing on P.T. Barnum and his background and how he kind of mistreated a lot of people and things like that.
And he lied. I mean,
but so the big selling point of that film is the musical numbers and the dancing and stuff like that. It's from a production quality standpoint, it's really good.
So good.
But like we were talking with,
but it got ruined in ratings.
Well, no, regardless of ratings, but we were talking with our one friend, and he basically said that the score itself is not like overly complicated. It's not some like amazing
You
work
don't
of
need
music.
some.
It's very basic, but then what they do is just put tons of layers of different sound over the top of it to make it sound complex and complicated.
Are you
So,
saying that's like AI over music?
well, no, I'm not talking
Oh.
about AI. I'm just talking about taking something that's extremely simple and dialing it up, right? Like it just kind of fits with this progression of the consumable media and stuff that's being produced. They just take like either recycle something and make it overly complicated so that you think it's a new thing or a better thing, um, or they just when they do something new, it's almost like they don't want to have like a Gore Verbinski or name another great scorer of films from the past, like these like a Danny Elfman, like they don't want to necessarily have to have that person. They want to have some kid who's out of
Simple.
college a couple of years who just kind of understands music and
Oh,
just
I
be like,
like the
look,
Greatest
throw
Showman soundtrack.
3 or 4 chords together, and then what we'll do is just overlay a bunch of stuff over the top of it, and that's our main theme for the movie.
Yeah.
I like I really have seen the production quality
Go down.
overtake, well, not necessarily go down, but become almost overly complicated. Don't you remember there was a point in time where when you were watching films, like say it was an action scene, there was a point in time with, and again, this just could be me and having boomer brain now or something, but there was a time period where I used to be able to watch like, and I can still watch films from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and there's like an action scene, and you can see everything that happens, right? Like you see every punch or fake punch, you see every hit, every move, every grab, right? Nowadays, the action scenes are so fast. It's just like bang, 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 bang. You almost like you can't even see the actual actions.
That
they all
goes
just
back
blend
to
together.
how we filmed. Like, remember how I said, you watch the old Superman, you watch the new Doctor Strange multiverse where he's fallen from like universe to universe.
Mhm.
It is like, I tell it to my kids all the time. I'm like, if you watch the pace, like the pace of like a Godfather type movie, as
Mhm.
opposed to something that's made now,
Oh yeah.
the pace is so much faster. And I think it's because like like the kids and us are now trained, even you were like, oh, it's not working. The internet's too slow, right?
Yeah.
Everything and our internet's freaking fast. And everything happens like this now. So
Yeah.
you can't slow down. When you slow down, immediately you lose someone. That's when I tell the kids to watch the black and white version of like 12 Angry Men and tell me what they think.
Yeah.
And then we watch something that's from this day and age.
So are you thinking,
and to go from one to the other, like it's almost like you have to in order to engage an audience now, at least of younger kids.
So would you say that like a movie nowadays, regardless of whether it's good or bad, they have to continually give you that serotonin hit every like 15, 20 seconds
or you will
in the
pass
film
out.
in order
like,
to
you'll
keep
not
you
pass
going.
out, but you'll
space out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have,
You'll be
unless
like,
you're
like boring.
Like I could sit and watch a slow movie, but that like ask, a teenager to watch a subtitled movie.
Yeah. Or or like even something like Castaway.
Oh my God,
right?
Forget it. That's long.
It's long and drawn out and slow and like it's just one person on an island, right?
Look at 12 Angry Men.
Yeah.
It's literally an hour and a half of one argument.
I love older films
and it's
underrated.
Slow. And even not just how it like it's literally how it's filmed too. So if you watch older movies, right? You like Audrey Hepburn, watch an old Audrey Hepburn movie.
Yeah.
It'll like the clip will change like here you'll have some, and then it'll change again.
Yeah.
It's slow.
Yeah.
They still use all the same shots, all the same angles, all the same stuff, but it changes much less frequency. And then you watch something nowadays. So you can even see this in animation because animation is made so that it looks like a camera angle. So even if you watch like Encanto, right? Encanto. I don't know.
Yeah.
Encanto. Even if you watch that, every 2 seconds, the clip is changing.
Yeah.
Even if it's just from one to the other to like, there's constant movement.
It's like
watch
Mania.
I'm sure in C it's the same. Like, but generally you'll find when it's
I'm like C has the production quality of something that's reminiscent of like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Because they have monologues, they have these kind of like zoom
too
into
it.
the
I don't even
characters'
pay
faces. Right? Like, yes, the action scenes kind of like, but they're not typical action scenes like you see on movies nowadays. It's not like, bang, and then something else happens. There's like some focus, and to the credit of whoever does the choreography,
So
there's
good.
actually some involved. Now it's brutal, it's very violent, but I mean, like there's some thought process there about the choreography where
Oh,
it's
just the way
not
he
just
like
like
drags
it's
his
not like
sword.
one
Just
hit by one
stop.
person and then one hit by another person, and then the other thing I was thinking about was just think about some of these things now that are kind of the most popular in pop culture that have all these reminiscent callbacks, right? So think of Stranger Things. Stranger Things has elements of slowness, but then it's using kind of the nostalgic elements or thematic
And then
stuff from
bringing
the
it up.
past. So
Because
like
there are moments of like
so
stuff
like
in Stranger
there's
Things that are like,
there's stuff in Stranger Things that are very much like and you're like, holy shit, what
maybe
just
it's
happened,
training the
right?
kids to get a little slower
Um I don't know
to
if
build
it's
the
I don't know if
suspense.
it's conscious or what, but I would say that Stranger Things is kind of like the middle ground between that like kind of old school,
Mm.
setting up the plot and kind of like not this like hectic stuff. And then there's freaking, Doctor
Marvel.
Strange and that kind of thing where it's just
which is like now Marvel is with Disney Plus,
where
right? So I
dude,
feel like they have a huge hand in some of this
you know what's crazy?
moving away from things.
At the beginning of like a Marvel film, do they have to give you the same disclaimer that they give in the beginning of C where it says like, flashing lights or whatever?
I don't know.
I don't even.
I don't watch
I've
Marvel.
never gone to a movie, so
We
like
know you've gone
not
to a movie,
not
but
in the
not a
last
Marvel.
not in the
We
last
haven't
3-4
gone in a
years.
while. We have to go to a movie.
But so like that can't like say you're an epileptic. I mean, like it's gotta be fucking crazy if you're an epileptic watching freaking all these flashing lights going back and
like,
forth and
so
stuff.
this is what I do in my film classes. I say we'll look at a scene, right, for a minute, and I'll have them count how many changes they have in the clips.
Mhm.
And most of the time, in a minute clip, you'll have about 30 to 45 changes of
What?
in a minute.
What?
So you take that minute, unless it's like a real slow scene. In a real slow scene, you'll still see them like linger and stuff, but
Yeah.
even then you'll see changes.
Yeah.
You're gonna look at like take the low end of that, 30 in a minute. So you have a 60-minute movie, 90-minute movie. Say you have a 120 movie, right? 120 minutes.
They don't even
How
make
many changes
120-minute
is that?
movies, dude.
2-minute movies?
No,
2-hour
no,
movies?
they don't even make 120-minute movies anymore,
What
do
do they make now?
Like they don't make like Braveheart.
Say it's
kind
90
of like
minutes.
3.5
Braveheart
hour
was like
films.
3. But so say it's like a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, most of them are.
You're
90.
looking at 90 times 30, which is
2,700.
2,700 times your clip changes. And it's like, now of course there's slower times when you're not seeing that, but it's like this and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it until I don't realize it until I sit and like say, okay, I'm gonna watch. And the kids are always like, oh my God, they changed like 30 times. Like it came out of nowhere. So these are happening to us subconsciously.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like subconsciously our brains are being taught to take in.
Mm-hmm.
So when things slow down, it's like, I'm just going to leave for a little while.
Yeah. Which is probably why our kids sometimes are like, I'm bored. And you're like, it's been 6 seconds.
Yeah. Be bored.
How can you be bored in 6 seconds?
Be bored.
All right. I think this is a good place to leave it because it is late. We got
on late
stuff
today,
to do tomorrow.
but I'm so glad you brought that book out.
Yeah.
I think we should do a video. We should find it. The author has died. Does that mean you can do something with it?
I think as long as we don't monetize it, it's fine.
I think we should do like a nice video of the pages.
Yeah.
And we'll do like
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might not be able to put it up on the blockchain because I don't have express authorization, because if I do get upvoted, anyway, we'll figure it out on the back end.
Wait, if it's is it 25 years or is it 50 years or is it 60 years?
I'll double check.
Yeah, look it up.
I'll call my attorney.
You do have an attorney. He might know.
With that, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. We appreciate it. As a reminder, like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah,
share,
and let us know what books you like to read.
Yes, please. Give us comments. What books you like to read your kids? What you think is the good parts about it? The negative parts about other books that you've encountered for children's books nowadays, and even chime in on the media conversation, because I think we could definitely do like a full episode on different types of movies and stuff like that.
Into a weird space.
No, that's fine. It totally flowed into that, which was fantastic. It's like a bonus segment.
I wonder if books are the same way. Like we have not been to a bookstore.
I'm trying to think of something recently. I'm not sure it's that much different. I mean, thematically, I'm pretty sure some of the kind of like more culture
I think
war
there's a
type
lot of
stuff.
woke stuff going on in books these days, from what I hear from friends.
Well, that's fine, but the question would be whether or not they've been dumbed down thematically, which I don't know if they have. Well, I mean, it's all on average too, because if you look back, like
there's a lot of dumbing down in the 70s too.
Yeah, I mean, look, in every period of history, there's
that was specifically an educational series.
Yes.
So you got to remember that too. Sweet Pickles was an educational series that came to your house every week or every month.
Yeah.
You get a new book, and it would always teach something new. So it wasn't like you go get a big nice picture book.
Yeah. It
wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Sweet Pickles.
We got more to discuss on this one.
Sweet Pickles.
So with that, I'm going to take the banner off, and I'm going to say thank you very much. We will be back probably next week. We have to do our Alex Jones interview part 2 reaction video.
Are we doing that on a Monday though? Maybe we should do.
We'll figure it out. We might be able to do a midweek
one.
On
the weekend.
I'll definitely announce it ahead of time.
Not after date night.
Yeah, no, that might get a little sloppy.
Be at the bar.
Yeah, too many margaritas. Dude, we should live cast from.
We could live cast from End of Elm. Oh my gosh, End of Elm is so awesome. I love that.
Now they're not going to let us in because we said the name of the place on our.
What did we do?
On our podcast.
We didn't do bad. The bartenders rock.
Well, they might not want to be associated with extremists.
No, they all
like
love us.
As people.
You wear the shirts everywhere you go.
End of Elm shirts?
No, you wear your shirts when we go to End of Elm.
Oh yeah, they know who I'm. Like they know who I am there. They just don't know that everyone else knows that I am what I am. Anyway, we'll talk about this at another time. This has gone downhill. With that, have a very good evening. Hopefully you enjoyed our bedtime story, and definitely hug your kids, kiss them, freaking
read them a good book.
Read them a good book.
Read them a book. That's one thing we've always done. Read the kids' books.
Yes. Definitely read to your kids. If you don't,
you're missing out. If you don't, you're missing out.
Yeah. So,
like a number of books each night.
All right. Completely voluntary, but you should do it. Well, I mean, like parents have
it's such a good
choose to do it if they want to.
As we say this, our daughter read our other daughter books.
Yeah. Which should also be a more regular occurrence, but that's another episode. With that being said, thank you very much. Have a very good evening. Bye. Peace.